Hey guys, I'm just here at Schmidt's Pastry Cottage this morning, unloading some flour off the truck. We're glad you could join us today with Wake Up with Giants. Here where we speak up, stand up, lift up, and wake up. So we're excited that you're here. I got Nick Smith as well, and our guest this week is Brett Borg. He's the owner of Schmidt's Pastry Cottage, him and his dad. And so we're excited to introduce Brett this week. Nick, you got some stuff to go over this morning?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for being on here, Brett. I'll have you unmute here for a second. But our goal here with Giants TV, Wake Up with Giants, is to highlight giants that we see in our lives. They come in all different kinds. You know, you can be a giant in just about anything. And we see Brett as a giant right now, especially how his company's showing up. Ryan, you know more about that. You've been following what they've been doing. What have they been doing?
So with the whole COVID-19 and all that stuff, Brett and his family, they decided to just give. So they started a program, and we'll go into this a little bit more of how it all started. I just know it started, but they have a program where they give away 2 loaves of bread, one for you, and then one to pass along to somebody in need. That's pretty dang cool.
That's awesome. So you've been passing out flour? What's all over your face?
Yeah. So one of the local mills was up in Ogden, I believe, gave away a bunch of flour to Schmidt's Pastry Cottage. So I've been there getting my hands dirty today.
Nice, man. Well, Brett, can we jump in? Can we jump into your life?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your history, going back to your childhood. What was it like for you growing up?
I mean, really growing up, nothing special about my life. I think I'm just going to sound like a grandpa here, but just kind of grew up in like the perfect ages where you could just go to school, come home. Your biggest concern is what you were going to do. And you run around the Jordan River and play in the river and get muddy or play sports, and you didn't have your parents checking over you, and we just kind of ran in the streets and went wild, you know, just every child's dream. And so I feel like I grew up in a very lucky time where we were out all the time and doing things and, you know, really developing who we were, not sitting in front of screens and doing nothing, you know. So it's a little different than what we see.
Adventure, right?
Yeah, you look back at it, you think so. Back then it was just normal life, so you didn't think it then, but yeah, it's very different from what I see my kids and kids in the neighborhood doing.
Yeah. Did you think you'd be where you are today, kind of back then? Do you have any idea this is where you'd be?
Well, being a family bakery, I kind of always knew that I was going to be in my dad's footsteps. You know, I kind of had a path laid for me that my parents, I got to say this, it's not just my dad. My mom busts her butt and gives everything to this business and a lot of sacrifice on her part. And they kind of have really done most of the sacrifice and gone through the hard times. And that's when I was out playing in the Jordan River and playing basketball and football and, you know, just messing around. And so the path was laid there for me, and I just had to decide I wanted to jump on it and work with them. So yeah, it wasn't something that caught me off guard. Where we're at as a business, I think it's bigger than I anticipated. The workload, just where it's become, I couldn't have envisioned where in that building where Ryan's at. We were always in these small businesses, small buildings, and really tight and hard to make things work. So this is kind of the dream that my parents had, was to have a building that was so nice that people would want to go there, sit there, have a meal, which we haven't ever had before, and just it could be part of their life. You know, it could be, they call it a cottage, right? You think a cottage is somewhere where it's, you know, it's homey, it's a place you have good experiences. And I think we finally have accomplished that. Ryan's got the picture up right now, but so it's kind of, this is kind of what we dreamed of, but didn't know would ever happen.
Ryan, you might have to speak for it to show up on your screen. I think that's the way that Zoom works, unless you're on a gallery view.
Oh, see, so here we go. So now I went inside. So I went inside to the, you know, Brett's not even there. I just let myself in.
Just everywhere. So did you, growing up, did you have bullies? Did you have naysayers, people who said you couldn't do this? Did you ever feel that way?
Interestingly enough, I was surrounded by great friends. I always had great friends. Never was really mistreated. Obviously, there's some kids that treated you bad in high school or junior high. And I think now that we're adults, if we saw each other, we would give each other a hug. Not now with the COVID-19, but I think we'd be generally happy to see each other because we've grown up. But ironically, the place where I had some major doubters or people saying I was stupid was teachers in school. I won't name names, but I had one teacher in high school who was really on my case, and she was one of my English teachers. And I don't know who's watching this, but I had a really awesome English teacher, and her name's Judy Zone. If she's watching this, I'm not talking about her, but I'm not going to name who the other person was. But she was, yeah, no, she was an amazing teacher. But I had an English teacher who would keep me after class, stop me in the hall all the time, and tell me I was wasting my talents, that I had so much potential, and why would I just be a baker? And, I could have a great life, and why would I throw everything away? God's given me so many talents, I'm just going to throw them away on being a baker and not accomplish anything. So, being a teenager, I was 16 at that time, and to have someone that you view as someone smarter, someone more intelligent, someone who's been through everything, tell me that really rocked me, and it pissed me off, and, put some doubt in my mind. But when it came down to it, I realized what makes me happy, and what makes me happy is my family. And so screw it. I'm going to work with my family, because that's really been the joy of my life. Who cares about the money or how many hours I sleep, or it's being with the family that most people don't have. What I am able to do every day is be with my dad, my mom, my wife, my siblings, sometimes nieces and nephews, like that on a daily basis. I was able to spend time with my grandpa almost every day until the day he died, and not many people can say that. So to me, that's worth it. But the only person who told me I was stupid was a few teachers, mainly this one who, it was a weekly thing that she was on my case about me blowing my chances.
So in the story, the whole premise of all of this is tying it into the book, The Giants and the Smalls. And there's a part where Britt discovers that the giant was actually born to giant parents, but he was born small and he had to grow into his stature. It wasn't handed to him just because he was born to giants. And then also he goes through what you went through with people telling him he can't do it, and giants are giants and they're special, and why would you waste your time? Kind of the same idea, right? It's just to kind of help kids and parents recognize, look, we all go through something like this when we're growing. And you finally decided, I'm going to pay attention to the giants in my life, like my parents and my grandparents, my grandpa, and I want to be like that. And you had to grow into it. You didn't just get it handed to you. Is that right?
Yeah, for those who have seen or who have worked in a bakery, or it's a lot of work. It's not something that it's not a business where you could just be the spoiled son that's going to be the heir of the business, and you can just sit in a chair and manage it. This is something where, it started scrubbing dishes when I was 8, and everything that was metal or mechanical, cleaning that. And then it came slowly to cutting sugar cookies out, and then mixing, it's been, anyone who knows me knows that I've worked my entire life. I worked full time through high school. When I got married, the first few years I'm working over 100 hours almost every single week. I've been able to scale that back now. I've had to with kids and stuff, but it's been nothing but work. So
it's not 95 hours a week.
Yeah, no. So it's something that, yes, I couldn't just, I've had to work hard to get into the position where I'm at, but I've had great help all along the way. So it's not like it was a journey all by myself.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So you had mentors, right? In this whole thing. Talk about them.
So the main mentor I've had is my dad. I'm the only son. And so he mentored me through my whole life. One thing great about my dad was he tried his hardest to push me away from following in his footsteps, because he is my giant and he sees himself as a small, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't want me doing what he did, because he wanted me to have better. So the great thing about my dad is anything I showed passion in, he pushed me and he helped me. Whatever it was, he wanted me to find my own course, and he supported me in that, in everything. And then when it finally, and I used to get mad because when I was in high school, I'd be like, my dad won't teach me anything in the bakery. So I go to his employees, the other bakers, and I'd say, show me how to do this.
Yeah.
And so they would, because my dad wouldn't, because he didn't want me to do what he did. He wanted me to be better.
Is that in Ryan's picture?
This is Steve right here.
Okay.
He showed me how to do this, so I don't know what your problem was, but
yeah, he's getting old. He's not stubborn anymore. No, so I had to have his employees teach me how to do things, and it wasn't until I was married and he really realized that this is what I want to do, where then he took me under his wing and started stepping me through everything. Now he doesn't want to be obsolete, right? So he still keeps things away from me in the business so that he has something I can't do, so that he can be there. And that's fine. I don't want him working his butt off. Both of my parents work way too hard at their age, but I do enjoy having them all the time to be there with me. So
you mentioned some challenges you had to overcome, like you had to go to the employees to get teaching, right?
Yeah.
What are some other challenges you've had to overcome?
There's just been a lot of, right now we're seeing probably the biggest challenge we've had as a business with this crisis, but it's all been business related, like the number one challenge we have is employees, getting employees, because, it's just a cycle. It's a wave where like there's a lot of employees available and then there's none available. And so there's times where you have the help you need, and then times where you're so skinny on employees that you can't ever breathe because you're working so hard, or
Right.
Getting employees to work right. So I don't know, the biggest challenges have been, there's a lot of challenges that would bore people to death with the bakery business, and that's just putting out the product, because we want everything fresh. There's 24 hours a day, and we go 24 hours a day, and not me personally, but we have crews going 24 hours a day, and sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's enough. So being organized and working your mixers and your bench and your ovens correctly to get everything done, and managing your employees so you're not overworking them and making them hate their job. So, that's the main thing, is how to balance the production.
But what about you personally? Like, what are some personal challenges that you've had to overcome outside of the business?
The biggest problem that I've had to overcome, and it's been my biggest weakness, is it's hard for me to accept failure. And I think to become a giant, you need to fail a lot of times. And so it's been hard. There's been plenty of times where something I mix, I forget an ingredient and I kill myself over it. And my dad will be like, no, don't worry. This happens to everybody. Don't worry. And I can't get over it. Or I still, the first day we opened that bakery where Ryan's at, very first day I left one pan of croissants in the oven, just forgot it. We have an oven that fits 30 pans and it goes around, and I just lost track of it. Just one pan, not a big deal. And 40 minutes later, I smelled them burning and pulled them out, and they were just charcoal, right? And I still am mad at myself about that. And that's been 9 years. So the hardest thing for me has just been able to accept where I've made mistakes and learn from them and move on. Because really, mistakes happen daily. If it's messing up on a customer's order, which we will do, sometimes we mess up and it's hard to accept. And I have a hard time getting over that. I feel like a complete failure. And so really it's kind of that mindset of you have to be perfect or else you're not worth anything has kind of been one of the main, because there's so many mistakes and I have a hard time getting past that. I feel like I've gotten better at it as time's gone on, but it's still something that really bothers me when I make a mistake.
I'm seeing the pictures in Ryan's background.
this
I'm so hungry.
This would be my hardest challenge, is not eating all of this.
Yeah.
That would be a big challenge.
Especially today where everybody's doing this big giant fast.
Yes. It's making me hungry. I'm wearing a Mary Uchin shirt.
That's
It
awesome.
has flour on it, and I want to lick it.
But Brett, have you ever been afraid going through all this? Have you ever been worried, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, honestly, I fear for every year starting October, I am living in constant fear. October through December through Christmas it's insane. You know, not every profession has it, whether it's an accountant with tax season, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their seasons where it's really hard. And ours is
orange butterflake roll season.
it's orange butterflake roll season.
That's my favorite season.
Like, honestly, in those times, I feel like I could never leave the bakery and I could still always be behind. So really, I mean, and there's always just things like that where we have big orders that or they seem impossible, and that happens a lot. We get there and it seems like, how am I going to do this giving free bread away, you know, like thousands of loaves every day? It kind of seems impossible. Can I do this? And really the best thing is just, you know, what I do is I make a list, you know, of what I think is the most important things to do in what order, and I just attack the list. Like, for me, it's giving myself an objective early on every day. People make fun of me because my dad makes fun of me. Me and him are really different. My dad is great at just showing up and rolling with everything and being calm and gets things done. I'm complete opposite. Like, I'm stressed. If I like, first thing I do is I have like 5 papers that spread out that I would make all my notes on everything I'm going to do. And I have to have that, or else I'll stand around and get nothing accomplished. So I have to have my list. And the best thing for me to overcome any fear that I've ever experienced or anxiety that I've experienced, like the challenges, is just make a list and get to work, because I forget about everything else when I'm working towards a cause. But I can't just be working. It has to have a directive. So I have to have that list. If it takes me 20 minutes to make that list, that's the most important 20 minutes I'll spend of my 15-hour day. Like, I have to make that list, or else I'm lost the entire day.
Okay, can we speak to that? So first, give us a scale of the size of your business. Like, what do you guys do? And now, especially where you're giving bread away, I don't think people realize how much you're doing right now. It's a lot.
How much bread are you giving away, Brett? Like, what's the magnitude of that?
So the average, it's been kind of a learning curve. We don't want to have the bread go old. You know, we don't want to be handing out old stale bread. So we try to make the right amount. Now we're running out. There's been a few days where we haven't ran out. On average, we're right around 1,000 loaves a day is what we're handing out. So as of now, I think we're about 11,000 loaves of bread that we've handed away. And that's a lot. It's a lot of work.
That's amazing, man. Good job.
So on a daily basis, I don't know. I mean, of product will probably go through around 3 tons of product on an average day, like of us mixing different ingredients and stuff. I mean, it's just, it's hard. I'd have to take you in the bakery and show you what we actually do, but it's so much work. And I don't know that you could really, you see the baking shows on TV, and that's not what it is. Our batches, where today my daughter's in love with the new bread we started doing. And I only did it once. It was an experiment on a new hamburger bun that we wanted to be a little bit better. And my daughter went crazy on it. So today I'm going to make her, since I'm home, my first day off in a few weeks, we're going to make bread in our house. And the recipe is going to be like 4 cups of flour. Now, when I make it at the bakery, it's 50 pounds of flour, so just the idea of the batches are a lot bigger. By the time you're done working a batch of cookies or a batch of Danish dough or something, you're physically tired and your body's hurt. I come home like probably a construction worker, where just every part of your whole body hurts and you just kind of want to crash because you have no energy left. It's a lot of work. So
can you talk about the creation of this particularly, like the bread? What brought that about, and why did you guys decide to do that?
Okay, so what happened was, this whole coronavirus scare, right at the beginning of it, the weekend before they started doing the shutdowns, I kind of felt uneasy. So our business, we have about 50 employees, but the majority of our employees have worked for us for decades. And so we really do love our employees. And I just, looking forward, I saw trials. I saw, how am I going to give hours to my employees? How am I going to tell an employee who's worked for me for 20 years, hey, your son's not going to be able to have the medication he needs, or someone who just bought a house who's worked for us for 25 years. You're not going to make that house payment. And that falls on me, it falls on me, it falls on my dad. So I went to Twitter and I just kind of laid out it's just a thread, just we're a small business. I wish I could close and shut everything down for 2 weeks and pay everybody, but I don't have that money. I mean, if we had that money, my dad and my mom wouldn't be working every day in their late 60s, right? I don't have that money, but I love my employees, and this is really hard for us, So if I understand you can't go out as much as you want, but if you need a birthday cake, think of us. If you need, just kind of a plea to our customers, like if you help us, we can help our employees. And that I felt we had no chance, right? Because our wholesale accounts, which are a huge deal, we catered to the Jazz. The Jazz shut down. That's a huge revenue that we have to pay our employees. Then the restaurants that we do breads for, they're down. So it was just scary. I put that out there, and we had this huge, like that Saturday, the community rallied, and I think Ryan was in there. The community rallied, and it was touching to us, and it was really emotional. We knew it couldn't, it's not something everyone's going to come every day like they did, but it really touched us. And so my dad said, we need to give back. Like, we need to let our customers know we love them like they just showed us. So take the weekend and think about what we can do to let them know that we love them too. So we came back Monday, and, I had my stupid little ideas that I thought were great. And then my dad comes in, he's like, I've got it. We're going to give bread away. What do you think about that? Sounds great. And he's like, we're going to give 2 loaves away. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, look, right now everyone's scared. The best way to combat being scared and your anxiety is to help other people. So he said, we're going to help them by giving them bread. We're going to feel better. But what if that person that we're giving the bread to has no way to help somebody else? If we give them a second loaf and tell them to give that to someone, then they have that opportunity to give. And he said, that way everybody feels better. So obviously business, we have to think business too, right? Obviously the thought of that is amazing. We have to think paying for it, because we're already bleeding out with all of our accounts that have shut down. So we get my mom's, and I'm like, I like it. I love it. I think it's amazing. I don't know how long we can do it. You got to get past mom. She's always been the smarter one with the money. So we sat down with her, and she listens to my dad's pitch and looks just dubious and looks at me. What do you think, Brett? And I'm like, I think it's a really good idea. And she's like, okay, then let's do it. Wow. And we didn't know how long we'd be able to do it because funds, but it's been amazing. Like, people from all over the nation have donated money that we don't even know, just because they've seen the cause on Twitter. And we've had, like Ryan mentioned, that flour company that I've never bought flour from. They donated 2,500 pounds of flour, which provides the flour ingredients for almost 7,000 loaves, so we've been able to keep it going we'll be going into our 3rd week this week, which we thought we might be able to go like 5 or 6 days. So it's been really awesome. It's really emotional. It's been a morale booster to our employees who are there, because you spend all day thinking about coronavirus and your family and this fear. What are we going to do? But then we come to work and we hear customers come up and cry and tell us how grateful they are. And it's really just changed the attitude with our employees, where now we got this happiness is the root of what our day is, which has changed everything. So like, we all feel better at work, and then we go home and we get scared again, because there's this great project going on in the bakery.
You mentioned 2 things there. One is not just to be busy working, but to be busy working towards something specific, right? And then also helping others as ways to get out of the fear. And you guys created something out of nothing. This didn't exist before this whole virus. So it's kind of like, people can look at this virus and say it's shutting down any opportunities. But here you're looking at it and saying, what can we do, rather than what's happening to us? What can we create from this? It is what it is. Man, it's amazing. I mean, the outpouring that's occurred on this, I'm getting emotional about it just watching you. I could see the emotion in you in it. And that creating that feeling with your employees. I mean, you're creating a bonding here, not just with your employees, but everybody. Everybody's a part of this. I think that's huge. As giant things go, that's a giant thing to do.
We honestly didn't think that anyone was going to help donate to this, right? We thought this would be something that we just did until we couldn't do it any longer. And then it got retweeted so much on Twitter, some by national reporters, and they asked, how can we donate? And I me and my wife were like, how do we even set that up? We were not we're not doing this for donations, but people kept asking on that Twitter thread, like, how do we donate? How do we donate? And so I'm like, crap. So we set up a Venmo, which we've never had, and people started donating, and they'd leave message with their donations. And me and my wife were in tears just reading these, because we were terrified, right? I mean, everybody feels terrified. And then just reading all these messages of hope and love and wanting to give back. People we don't even know, people we don't even know. I don't know anyone in Florida. I don't know anyone in New York or Washington. And they're reaching out to us saying how great this is. And then, and that's online. But then we've had customers come in and hand us money and cry to us and talk to us how amazing this is and how they needed something like this. And so, yeah, it's been, it's just been crazy, the happiness because we're not in a moment of happiness right now.
Right.
And it's crazy that a loaf of bread has been able to, it's a loaf of bread, right? I mean, what's special about a loaf of bread? Really nothing. It's the minimal thing, but it just the idea of helping other people and sharing and being one in a nation that's always seems to be more and more divided every day, a community that's more and more divided. Bread can unify us, and it's been really emotional. Like, I've never seen my dad cry, and I've seen him in tears 4 or 5 times this week talking to customers,
It's interesting. I did a video this morning on crying, and that it's a social connection. It's a way that we connect socially, is crying. Like, we can cry together, and it's this crying out of like just joy, in a sense, like you're doing something good. And it can also be out of sadness. We can be sad together, but it brings us together, right? Like bread unifies us. It seems corny, but it's true, man. That's what you guys accomplished, is bread brought this whole community together in a way that was unexpected. It's not like you went out and said, hey, let's make bread so we can get people together. That was never on there. It was like, what can we do to give back, to keep going?
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to share just something quick that happened the other day. So my dad got called out to the lobby. Someone wanted to talk to him. So he goes out there, and it was an older gentleman, probably late 70s, early 80s, had a cane to walk, and he had his 2 loaves of bread, and he just wanted to have a conversation with my dad, and he was in tears, the gentleman. And he says that he's a war vet, right? He's fought for our country in 2 wars, and he wanted to thank my dad for being such a hero. And my dad's like, I'm not a hero. Like, you're a hero. Like, you fought for America, and you're the hero. And the guy's like, I fought for a country where something like this could take place. You are my hero. And they're both in tears, right? Like, and that's something like, to go, like, being a giant, you never know if you're a freaking giant to somebody else, like, we make bread, and here we have someone who fought on the front line looking at my dad like he's a giant, and it's bread. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what is going to be amazing to somebody else. So, like, just be you, be true to yourself. What you might seem insignificant, you might seem like you have nothing to give, but if you can become you and do that 100%, then you're going to be a giant to somebody else, without even knowing it. And like, my dad never expected handing out bread to be somebody and mean something to someone who's fought for our freedom. So it's just something that is really emotional, and as dumb as it is, it's love. And I think that's what people see. It's not the bread. They see the love. They know we're not making money on this. Like, with these donations, nothing is going to us making money. Everything we get goes into that giveaway, which has extended it 2 weeks longer than we thought, like, we're losing money, but they see the love. And I think that's what has brought everybody. It's not the bread. I think it's the love that's brought people together. That's
amazing. Are you good to keep going for a minute?
Yeah, I'm good.
That flew by, like 30 minutes already. It's like, man, this is amazing. Like, I'm emotional right now. How long has this process been for you guys to be where you are? For you to be where you are today, how long has it taken you to get here? Just to give people a sense,
Sorry, to get where? Sorry.
From where you started working for your dad's company and working for this company to where you are today, how long of a road has that been?
Well, my parents have been in business for almost 50 years. When they bought the building, my dad didn't have enough money to change the name on the building. It was Schmidt's, it was an old German immigrant whose name was Gunther Schmidt, and Gunther lived next door to the bakery, and my dad just said, I'm buying this. I don't have money to change the name. Can I just leave it there for a few months until I get enough money? Oh yeah, that's fine. And then just by the time my dad got enough money, he's like, hey, I can change the name. Gunther Schmidt was like, keep it. I love what you've done. Keep my name. And that was my dad and my mom, the only two employees baking a loaf of bread. They didn't have the equipment to slice it. So my dad would take it to a grocery store where he worked before and slice his bread, take it back to the bakery and sell it. And so to now where now we have all these employees, like it's taken 40 years. I've been on board for 20, where I've been baking for 20 years. And it's just, the thing that keeps us, we could probably be bigger, but we won't be able to keep the quality. It's the oversight of it all, but we could probably be bigger, but we want to do it right. So, it's a journey that really never ends. We've had to reinvent things a lot. We saw, this building in South Jordan was kind of a reinvention because most standalone bakeries were disappearing because people's buying trends faded or changed. And so we had to change our business with it. So there's been a lot of that. And I don't feel like we've arrived anywhere. I feel like we constantly have to reevaluate things and where can we go? What do we have to do to stay relevant and to give people what they want? We keep a lot of the traditional stuff because people love it, but we're always kind of reinventing how we run our business. And so I don't feel like we've gotten anywhere. I feel like we're still just fighting every day.
Thinking of where you're at right now, if you were to go back to the beginning of time when you started here, what would you tell yourself?
Just really, I don't have regrets. I would say I don't know. That's a really tough question because I don't regret anything we've done. Everything we've done has brought us knowledge and brought us closer. Being with a family is different, right? When you have bad times with the family are better. It's not as bad because you grow together. I would just say business-wise, just do what we've done. I don't want to talk bad about things we've done in the past. Maybe there's a location that we don't open, that we're not in anymore. I'll leave it vague like that. I wouldn't have gone into one of the locations that we were in for a long time because of some stuff that happened to really set us back. But I would just say be closer to your family. I spent the first 10 years of my baking career managing a different location away from my family where it was just me in Sugar House. And I worked my butt off. I learned a lot, but I kind of lost connection with my family because I was the one that was off somewhere else. I would say in those 10 years, make more of an effort to be with your family because that's what this has all been about. And I feel like there's probably 10 years where I was kind of like Brett's over there, everybody else is together and Brett's over there. But as far as business-wise, that was great for me because I learned how to manage. I learned how to be the one, the buck stops here and I have to be in charge of everything. But it did take me away from my family. So maybe that's one thing I do is make sure you're closer to your family throughout the whole thing. But just work hard. Work hard, treat your employees right. Treat your employees right.
What would you tell somebody that wants to be a giant?
I think I hit on it. Just if you try to be a giant, you're going to fail. All right. Because I don't think anyone can be a giant if they're chasing it. I think you have to figure out who you are and be you. I think discovering who you are is probably the biggest step because I don't feel like a giant. I don't. And I'll leave this show saying I'm not a giant, but I am who I am. I am who I am, right? And I know who I am. I know the good and bad about who I am, but I am that person 100%. And if someone sees it as something good, then I guess I can be a giant to that person. So just be you because it's better to be you 100% genuine and do what you do because you're going to help people. You're going to appear great. But if you're 90% you and 10% something you wish to be, then you're not going to be as effective, So just find out who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, and, do what you can't do because your imperfections make you more more a giant than your greatness, right? Like, show who you are 100% and don't be ashamed of it, and accept your weaknesses. And I think then people accept you even more.
Man, I'm smiling, dude. Like, you're like, this is a giant. Like, that's being a giant to me. What else do you want to say today? Anything else you want to share?
Really, I'm grateful for everybody. I mean, this is something, I mean, this bread project, I told my dad yesterday, like, this is, even though we're losing money on this, and I don't know what next week's going to bring. I don't know if we're open in a week, you know, because I don't know what the government's going to do. I don't know if we see sickness really close in our family or our employees. I don't know what's going to bring. But no matter what we do from this point on as a business, I don't think anything will be as great as what we've done with this bread project, because, you know, like I've talked to Ryan before, like, you know, like you have a job you do, like Ryan selling RVs and stuff creates memories for a family, right? Like, I do birthday cakes and I have to just hope somebody likes it and think, okay, or Christmas when I'm working my butt off, hopefully these orange rolls go to someone who appreciates it.
They do. And so do these brownies. I broke my fast.
The only feedback we get as a business is when we do something wrong. And this has been a moment where everybody is giving us the feedback of the last 30 years. You know, you've done this and this, and you've meant this and this and this to my family. You know, you've created this. And so we're getting everything that we've hoped. We've been, giving to the community. Like, we've seen the gratitude from people, and that just kind of all the hard work over these decades. Like, this is the first time where we've kind of just felt like it was for something, you know, it wasn't about money or putting a roof over, because we work to put a roof over our heads, right? To provide for our family and our kids. And like, this is the first time where we've really just on a daily basis feel that we are accomplishing more than goods, you know, more than a sell. Like, this is, so thank you to all those customers. Thank you to the customers who've shown up over all the years, who have supported us, who have let their 16-year-old kids work for us, who've told them when we tell them they're doing something wrong, it's okay, listen to your employer, don't get mad at them, you know, like, I don't know, there's just so many things that we could not be Schmidt's Pastry Cottage without the people who've been our customers for years, and we'd be out of business. So thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for letting us be part. Thank you for coming to us when you need a cookie, coming to us when someone gets married. Like, thank you. And thank you the last few months, seems like months, last few weeks, for your support, for your words of encouragement. Even those who haven't donated, I don't know anyone that hasn't come in and at least said, thank you, this means so much. Like, that is a payment. That is us receiving something back. So thank you for opening up to us, for letting us be part. And these last weeks have been amazing. And it's really the pinnacle of our time at Schmidt's Pastry Cottage. So thank you for everything. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, we would be nobody without them. And I mean, we'd just be an empty building with, you know, grass growing in the parking lot if we didn't have these guys coming in. And especially now when things are as scary as they are, I understand how hard it is to leave your house and to put money somewhere. So thank you. I mean, that's the main thing, is thank you to everyone who's been so great to us.
I love it. What can we do for you?
Take care of your neighbors. I mean, that's what this was all about. This bread project was stop fighting, stop being upset with each other, is try not to be scared, get out there and help people, because there's so many people who need help. I mean, if you can't get to our stores and get a loaf of bread to give to somebody, what else can you do? You know, I mean, the yards are going to start getting bad. Can you go help someone out in their yard who maybe can't get out of their house, you know, that are older? Like, there's just so many things that so many people struggling right now with a lot of things, emotions, money, just things around the house. Like, let's unite, let's help each other. I mean, that's what this whole project has been. You know, for once we're forced not to think about money, because we know that we're not going to make the money we want to make. So what can we do? And just give, just help, you know, just love one another, and everyone do that.
That's what makes you a giant, Brett. 100%.
Ryan, how about some closing thoughts? What are you hearing?
I just, you know, like everything that he touched on, just amazing. That's the whole spirit of the message right there. That closing that Brett just gave is let's work together. Let's band together. I don't care where you're from, your background, your history. Let's unite as good humans. And Brett's always been a good example of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, the whole message of this story is around everything you just said. Like, in every way do you fit the mold of a giant. And so I'm grateful to have you on the show, Brett. Hopefully those watching are able to go to Schmidt's and support you guys and keep you going, and it contribute in any way, but above all, you know, be a giant to other people. And so thanks for being on. We'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.